Hey everyone, Tim from Bernal Cutlery here, and today we're going to be talking about real versus fake Benchmade knives. I find this question asked almost every day online, especially on Reddit, some of the knife forums, and it is one that is tricky and a lot of people are worried about, but with this helpful guide you might have a better understanding of what to look for.
But first, pop quiz. Which one of these is the real Benchmade and which one is the fake? 3, 2, 1.
So we're going to start by talking about the 535 Bugout. This is probably one of Benchmade's most popular knives. It's been out for a couple years now, has many different iterations at this point, but the classic blue handled one, since it's so popular, is also one that is most susceptible to counterfeits. There are many different things to look for in the knife itself to see if it's genuine or a counterfeit, but most often overlooked is the box itself. So starting off with the real one, there's a couple things to look out for. The color of the box is going to be very particular. It's always going to be this particular shade of blue for the blue class. This information that you see right here regarding the type of knife, its class, and what it's used for, and its steel are going to be big factors as well. Sometimes you'll see a fake one say it's the Hunt series or the black class when it's obviously not. This little mark that you see right here, that is the registered trademark logo. I feel like a lot of counterfeits mess up that one. They make it way too big or the print looks off. And then also finding that more information right here. So you'll see we have the blue class right here. You'll see a date that is, I believe it's construction or which batch it was part of, and then the barcode. Now beyond the outside of the box, the next thing you're going to be looking for is on the inside. So a genuine Benchmade is going to have this little sheath for it right here with their logo on it. You want to make sure that it's a genuine one. It's going to make sure that it's not ripping or tearing. Sometimes the fake ones right off the bat are already like disheveled or the print looks wrong. And then the next thing is pulling out the knife itself right here. So you'll see that it's going to have this information about the axis lock. Sometimes some of the fake ones will have this as well, but they just feel really flimsy. This is a little bit of a thicker cardstock with this information. Beyond the stuff that it says here, another general thing that you look for is like glaring typos, misspellings, stuff like that's going to be a good indicator that there may be something wrong with it. Beyond the knife itself, you're going to find this piece of paper right here. This is going to tell you more about their use and care and their warranty and whatnot. This is fairly standard for them. Sometimes they are changing these based off the series and stuff, but most of them are this small folding one compared to in the fake box. It's a little bit different, a little bit more of an outdated form. Now, one of the most obvious things that you look for right off the bat is this foam in the center right here. If the box doesn't seem to have this foam right here, that's typically a good indicator that it's fake. A lot of the other ones will just have a different form that doesn't have this cutout right here. It's flat, or it's just like a small flimsy piece of foam that they just put in the bottom that's flat. Now let's compare that to the fake box that I have right here. So right off the bat, you'll notice that it has a different look to it. You can see that color is a little bit lighter blue. The streak marks that you can see in the grain are a little bit thicker and wider, a little bit more obvious. But some of the big indicators that you'll start to notice compared to real boxes is the font's always going to be different. For some reason, they just can't really get it right. You can see that right there compared to the genuine one right here. And then wrapping around this side, the label's just a little off too. One indicator with that too is since the barcode goes around the corner right there, it makes it hard for Benchmade or a retail place to scan it. So that's always something that is going to be something that maybe a counterfeit's not thinking of. That would be important in a retail setting like this one where it's nice and in there. So the other things that we're seeing right here, you could see that big registered trademark. It's much bigger compared to the one I was talking about here. And the font seems a little off as well. Also, it doesn't have that number I was talking about that refers to the batch and when it was made and whatnot. So those are all obvious things. On the back side, we have the fake right here, the real one here. Pretty similar, so this is where it could kind of get tricky. The font's a little bit different between these, but for the most part, they're going to be pretty spot on. Now, again, you could see that the difference between the font on this one, the fake one, is going to be a little bit thicker, a little bit weird compared to this one right here. Now, let's get into the box of the fake one. So right off the bat, the bag that's in it is much different. It's a little bit more of a thicker gauge mesh. The imprint on it and the name and the branding seems pretty good, but it doesn't seem as real if you were to compare it to the genuine one. This fake knife also has this little piece of paper right here talking about the axis lock, but like I was saying, it's much more flimsy. It doesn't have that thickness that the real one does. It's a thicker gauge cardstock. There's this piece of paper right here. This is going to be a little bit more of their dated care sheet and warranty form. So that's another kind of red flag right off the bat, seeing this right here. Now, this one also had plastic in it that the knife was wrapped around. Typically never will see plastic in there unless it's for additional parts that some of the Black Series have it be a clip or something like that. So if you see a bunch of plastic in there, that's typically another flag of something that is off. Now, the most egregious thing is this piece of foam at the bottom right here. You kind of rip it out like that. This is not what you're going to find with them. It's going to be that hollowed out piece of foam. This is just like a more generic one, which is going to be one of the biggest red flags with the fake box. So now let's get into the knives themselves. So now right here we have the genuine 535 Benchmade Bugout. Some of the things you want to look for in something like this, you're going to notice it's going to have more of this stone wash finish. So it has a little bit of character to it. It's not going to be this flat, straight grind. The logo is something important to look for. You're going to find the number 535 under the USA note, and then the classic butterfly logo. Now there's also going to be a tiny little registered trademark right at the right side of the end of the butterfly in the bottom right corner. So that's something important to look for, and we'll note that a little bit later. Another thing on this one is going to be the thumb stud itself. It has this classic like anodized bright blue look to it that matches. Now you're going to have the classic axis lock right here. Moving down to one of the glaring obvious things that you'll find with these compared to the fake is for the screw holes, if you were to switch it to the left or right side, you notice that you can't really see anything in there. They're black, but if you look real tight, you'll see that there is actually 3 screw sets for you to put those 3 holes in there for the clip. And then we have the clip on the genuine one right here. Also has a little bit of that like kind of stonewash look to it. All these screws are going to be the classic hex that they're going to be using for most of the hardware. And you'll also notice that they are flat at the top of them. They don't have that classic round right at the middle as some of the other ones do. Going back to font, you'll notice that all the knives, even fake ones, are going to have the steel type right here on the other side. So we have S30V for this one right here. It's something that takes a little bit of time to get savvy on, but you'll notice that the font is just something they can't really nail with a lot of these. So if you see that it doesn't look like the same typeface as a lot of the other ones, that's a really good indicator that you have yourself a fake right there. Now comparing that to the fake one right here, you'll see that's going to have this much more grind face to it. It's not a stone wash. It still has a little bit of it just right up here at the top, but it's definitely much more obvious. Now in the logo itself, you still will see that classic butterfly, but you notice that the registered trademark is much larger and that typeface is still off just a tad compared to the real one behind it right here. So you kind of see those together. It's almost a lot darker too, which is another factor. But again, that registered trademark is one of the little secret obvious things to look for. You can see it's nice and big right there, and then it's kind of hard to pick up right there, but it's still there in the little tiny corner. Now moving from there, that thumb stud is going to be a much darker shade right there. So that's going to be another factor. Be wary if you're buying these on eBay or something like that. Sometimes people will say that they swap parts and did this and that and they're doing custom stuff to it, but sometimes that's just a disguise to hide the fact that it is not a real Benchmade knife. Now, one of the main factors to look for is if you look at the fake one, right, and these screw holes right here, they're actually brass. You can see them kind of shining back at you right there compared to the real one. Like I was saying, they're black. You can't really see them. On top of that, there's actually not even a set in the middle one. So even if you put the 3 screws on the middle side, that one would just be keep on turning. It wouldn't work and hold anything. So there's only these two on the side right there. Now moving to the back side, you can see the clip. So the Benchmade 535 Bugout, the real one right here, was very popular and famous for having this deep carry clip where it goes all the way down there. So since it's a small knife, you still get a really nice hold on it. Now this one's much bigger. It still has that deep carry where it leaps back and around the screws, but it's much longer and the direction of it is a little off too. It kind of cants to the side there. Next, you'll notice these screws are just a little different. They're going to be much more round. They don't have as much of a flat bevel on top of them as the genuine one right here. And then beyond there, just the color is just a tad off. You can see it's almost like a little darker than this one right here. So those would be some of the main things to look for when you're finding these. One of the most obvious things to look for when you're looking for Benchmade knives is anything that is too good to be true is generally going to be the fact with something like this. This knife retails for around, I believe, $150 or so. So if you find any that are $100 or $50, $20, that's a pretty good indicator that you're going to be buying yourself a fake. Also, making sure to work with an authorized reseller or dealer is one of the best ways to keep yourself safe from something like that. Sometimes even some of the bigger box stores or online marketplaces such as Cabela's or REI or Amazon, you need to be a little bit more worried about that. Any place that has a pretty open return policy, it is a possibility of someone returning a genuine product that they buy with a fake, and then if someone that is not savvy about these is processing the return, it is a possibility that they would just pass it off and the next person would unfortunately be getting one that is fake. Another model we're going to be talking about today is the 940 Osborne. This is a very classic Benchmade. There's many different styles, colors, steel types, as well as the mini and the normal size that we have here. So this one's a little bit more obvious off the bat. We have the genuine one right here, and then we have the fake right here. The box right off the bat is much more dark. It is not that classic bright blue. Now, you're not always going to get the same box with the fake ones. Sometimes you'll get one that is going to be pretty spitting image. Sometimes you'll get lucky and get one that's a little bit more obvious like this that helps you figure out if you have a real one or not. But going back to what we were discussing before, some of those main factors are looking for this logo right here that's going to have the information about the knife, and then also have that batch number, what class it is. You want to make sure that that lines up with the color of the box. So Hunt would be brown, black would be black, and gold would be gold. Then we also have that barcode right there. Now that's the same with any of the ones in the line. Each individual SKU is going to have a different one of those. So if you look that up and it's a different knife, that's sometimes a factor as well. Going to the back side of these, notice that this has this number on there. I didn't draw that on there. Sometimes that will happen with real ones depending on their inventory system or what they're doing. Typically, we try to not do anything to the box because we know it's an important part of something that someone's buying. So sometimes if you see a lot of weird scribbles or something that looks like it's covering it, that would be another factor to look out for. Now going up to the side of the boxes here again, you'll see there's a little bit of a font issue with the fake one right here compared to the real one right here. Spacing, the size of the font are all factors that would be indicative of a real or fake one. Now we'll jump into talking about the box a little bit more. So this is the genuine one right here. So you're going to have that classic construction. You're going to lift the lid, and then it's going to have that classic bag that we were talking about earlier with the 535. Now when I pull that out, it's also going to have that classic Axis little information tag right here on the clip. And then you have the knife right there. Now again, we're going to have that smaller little information talking about the warranty and the care. And then we have that classic box right there where it has the little dip in the foam cut out for the knife and all the stuff to be housed. Now the fake one, on the other hand, is going to have that same construction, but we're going to again find this older format of the care and warranty card right here. You can see that there is going to be some kind of outdated information, I believe, on here, and then also looking for, I don't see anything glaring right now, but you will find sometimes little typos again and things that are a little bit obvious that it is not the genuine product. Then we get to the knife right here. So it's going to have that thing right here again. But right off the bat, look at that Benchmade. The M is missing a little bit. We'll compare that to the other one that we have right here. So this would be the real one. You can see that it is filled out a lot more. You could read a little bit more legibly compared to this one. It just seems a little off. It's missing the M a little bit. Doesn't fill out all the way. So that's another factor. Also with the fake ones, you'll find that sometimes they'll have these two little caps right here for the pull tab, compared to the classic is just going to be this button right here to tighten it, and just one little tassel at the end right there. Now we're going to pull the knife out of this one right here. Right away you're going to notice it has that plastic wrapped around it, which is a no-go. And then we have the knife itself. So we'll talk more about that, but right off the bat, much more obvious that this one is not genuine compared to it because the color is so off. Also, this Axis card is much, much more bright blue compared to the genuine one right here. That's that darker shade of the blue class right there. Also, you can see again, a little bit tougher cardstock. Fake one's really flimsy. So easy little things like that are a good thing to look out for. So from there, we're just going to talk about the knives themselves. So right off the bat, very obvious which one of these is not going to be the real one. It's going to be this guy right here that has that much more bright, almost like lime green, compared to this is going to be that classic dark green that you'll find with a lot of their stuff, almost more of like a Hunter OD forest green. Now picking these up, bringing them close to the camera, we'll see those things that we're talking about again. So the real one's going to have that classic logo. It's going to have the 940 under the USA and that small little registered trademark. Now on the fake one, you're going to notice that registered trademark is much bigger. The 940 is going to be a little bit bigger as well, a little bit more bold. And then the logo itself is also a little bit different color. It's hard to kind of tell in the video, but if you're holding your hand, you can kind of get a look at it. It's not going to have that same feel. From there, the blade shape on these ones is a little bit more different. The grind is not going to have that same kind of finish. This one looks kind of like a cheaper steel that is not going to hold an edge as well. It's not ground the same, and it just has this kind of cheap look to it. The grinds don't look really right, which is another factor. They will say what steel they are on the back, but it doesn't mean that's true. You know, that's part of the reason that they're able to sell them so cheap. They'll just kind of throw whatever steel they want in there and sell it as whatever they want to say it is. So then going to the thumb stud, you're going to see that it has that classic construction. It's got a couple little lips to it compared to this one. It looks just a little cheaper. It's not going to have that same look and detail to it. Then we're going to go to the other side of these right here. More obvious stuff. So on some of the knives that are a partnership with a knife maker, such as this one with Warren Osborne, you're going to see that's going to have that look right there, and then that classic S30V right there for the steel type. Now this one, you can see the S30V is much larger. It's not the same as the genuine one right here. And then also that Osborne logo is much, much bigger. The design is also going to be larger. And then there's also the benchmade.com/pat on the fake one. Now you sometimes will see that with some of the collaborative knives. So if you do see a URL on the back, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have a fake one, but the size of it is sometimes a factor to look out for as well. So then we're going down to the bottom, the clips right here. So you see that classic Benchmade clip right there. It has their name kind of engraved into it. A little bit of character right there. Now this one is much deeper and it kind of looks more like stamped. You can kind of see around the edges. It has this kind of cheaper look to it. It doesn't look as real. But other than that, pretty similar shape and size. Now going back to what we were talking about with the other one, you'll notice you'll see those dark screw sets in there. You can't really see anything. Compared to this one, that they're almost much larger. Almost makes you wonder if they would fit. And I believe that's because they're actually using a larger T-bit on the screws on this one right here. So if it doesn't seem that your screws from another knife seem to fit this one, that's another obvious thing to watch out for. Now this one doesn't have the brass in it, but it's actually the knife itself, the scale. You can see the green inside there. So that's a factor compared to this one is actually going to have those screw sets from the other side and they're black. Now we got this darker kind of green goblin purple right here on this side compared to this one's a little bit more fuzzy. It doesn't have that same kind of look and definition to it. So that would be a factor right there. Other things to look for is you'll see these caps right here for the pivot screw. So it's just this nice flat cap. But on the other side, similar to some of the other screws, you'll see on the real one, it's going to have that flat bevel on top of it. Compared to this one's round all the way until that screw set in the middle. So that would be a factor to watch out for on that one. So sometimes you get ones that are going to be much more obvious. I've also seen really spot on versions of this one that are fake, so it is something to look for. But from one of the basic ones that we purchased for this video, this is something you want to watch out for, is those glaring errors. So in closing, these are some of the main things that you want to keep an eye out for if you are purchasing a Benchmade knife from someone that you are wary of, or seems like it's a good deal, or just anything in matter, even from an authorized dealer. You want to make sure that you look for these things. These are probably two of the most famous Benchmade knives, so they're the most susceptible to having counterfeits. Sometimes a brand new knife is going to be a little delayed in having that, but doesn't mean that you should be worried. At the end of the day, it really comes down to if something is too good to be true, that's going to be a good indicator that it probably is. These knives are going to be more expensive than some other ones, so if you find one that is very, very heavily discounted or just seems to be an awesome price, that's going to be a factor that it is not real. I hope this video is informative and helpful of someone's journey of looking for genuine and fake products and what to look for. In closing, the most important things would be that packaging, the logos, blade quality, the pivot mechanism, handle materials, and of course the pocket clip. With this knowledge, I feel like you'll all be better equipped to spot the difference between a real and a imitation, and happy collecting.